I'm Diane Davis.
I'm Andy Davis. We're the owners of Scottsdale Christmas Tree Farm here just south of Oskaloosa, Iowa. We actually started the farm back in the 1980s. We bought the property in 1985. It was 18 acres, and it was all pasture. And we wanted, it wasn't necessarily Diane's vision, but mine. Love trees. And so we started planting trees, not with the intention of selling them for Christmas trees, just to get a bunch of trees in the ground. And then as they started to grow, you know, how things kind of evolve, I thought maybe we can sell them for Christmas trees. And on how to grow Christmas, shear them, and there's a little bit more that goes into it than just sticking them in the ground. And that's kind of how we got started. I started shearing them.
Year ago.
1997. We advertised in the local newspaper, and I think we sold, and we always open the day after Thanksgiving, and we historically had been open up until Christmas. And I think we sold like just about 50 trees at that point in time, so which we were pleased. Now the last couple of years, we sold that in the first few hours of opening day. It's changed a lot. In fact, unfortunately, because we are a small farm, we have to limit the number of trees we sell just so we can have trees for the next year.
Got a variety.
Yeah, this is a Scotch pine right at the edge of the yard. You know, the first trees we planted back in the 1980s, it was right around 1986, 87. We planted 500 of them by hand. I took a week's vacation, dug a hole, put the dirt back, watered them all. It took a week to plant 500 trees, and all of them but 12 died. We had a drought similar to what we've been running into the past few years. We waited 2 years, planted again. I used a tree planter pulled behind a tractor, planted 500 trees in the same area, and it took 3 hours. And most of them survived because we got the rain that we needed. This is a Scotch. This one on the end is a fir, which we have difficulty growing. And deer really like them. They rub the heck out of them. You know, and they also bite off the tops. That's a Scotch. We basically have Scotch pine. Sorry, this is a fir. Some firs that have survived. I'm trying to work on more firs because there's a bigger demand for firs. And we have white pine. Those are the three main ones that we have out here based on our soil type and what we find grow, which Scotch pine and white pine are the two main ones that grow. We're pretty successful with.
Yeah. What do your seasons look like?
Oh, the seasons. Yeah. Well, wintertime can be pretty quiet because it's cold out, but there is some trimming that can be done in the wintertime. A lot of these trees, you know, I'll trim out some of these top branches because they didn't sell the prior year, so it just helps thin the tree out a little bit. It doesn't have to be done, but I'll do that to get me outside in the wintertime. Springtime, it gets kind of busy because then we're prepping for tree planting. Pardon?
In April.
Yeah, that starts in April. And this year we planted just shy of 1,400 trees. And the challenge is get them by the first year. There's been a couple of years in which, well, the last few years, we've had less than a 20-25% survival rate. So you do a lot of planting, and we're just trying to do more things to get them to survive, like watering is one of the things.
Next season?
The next season is actually starting about now, and that is shearing, where we actually, you know, will shape the tree. You make it more of a Christmas tree shape that people expect. It also makes the tree a little bit thicker. About 7-8 years, typically they get about 6 feet high, which is about pretty close to marketing size.
How old is this tree right here?
Well, this tree you can actually tell because it's a Scotch pine, and this here was last year's growth. This is this year's growth, and this has not been sheared yet. So if I take, this is year one last year, this would be year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 8 or 9 years old.
Wow. Yeah. How do you prepare for the people coming in to cut down their trees?
Well, that's a lot of cleaning up to do. We've had people say we have a very nice place because they can walk around. They're not fighting weeds. You know, we mow and we trim around the trees. So, you know, unless it's the branches are real close to the ground, they can get down and cut the tree down without actually fighting too many weeds. But, you know, we trim everything up. And of course, we have to get our equipment out for shaking and baling. And, the saw is ready. Make sure that most of them have sharp blades. Sometimes we don't get all of those, and people have a challenge cutting the tree down. But that's more of the preparation when it comes to selling. Well, this is what we use for planting. It's an auger. This is how we started. The tree spud. We still use it to some degree. Basically, just dig a hole, put the tree in, and then you seal it behind it, and then go on to the next one. Our spraying equipment, I use that for spraying trees for there's funguses you have to. There's some pests when it comes to some bugs that you have to battle from time to time. But yeah, you just have to be keeping a lookout. If you like being around trees, you're walking around and you're looking for signs of pests. The one big pest that we can't spray is deer and rabbits, because rabbits will nip off the new seedlings and then they're dead. Once we're planted, then it's mainly mowing. I did some mowing this morning because we're ready to start mowing. I'm going to start shearing this week. So I don't like walking through all the grass so much. It's easier getting to the trees when I'm shearing. So I'm going to be mowing today. That's our water wagon. I use that for watering when Mother Nature isn't necessarily cooperating, because I just water the new seedlings that we planted this year. But that takes a lot of time, because what we do is I've got 2 pumps on here, and this is a 2-gallon bucket with 2 little holes in the bottom, so that I can put this by the seedling, fill it with water, and then it seeps in. So watering, and then of course the shearing, which I use. Well, there's a lot of tree growers that use this for shearing the trees. They just whack off the new growth to get the shape. I find that's very hard on arms, and it can be hard on the legs if you're not careful. So I've always been looking for an easier way, and really there isn't an easy way when it comes to shearing. But this is the main tool I use. It's like a rotary trimmer, and you just go up and down around the tree to shape it. And then you use a pair of nippers to do some trimming on the top of the tree. A lot of farms that will not give their customers a saw for liability reasons. They go out, they make the decision as far as what tree they like, and they cut it down. They haul. Once they bring it down to the building, We'll shake it for 'em. Some people think that the dead needles mean it's dying, but no, it's all new growth. Pine trees do the same thing that regular deciduous trees do. They lose their needles, but they use lose the prior, well, it depends on the tree, but the prior year's growth versus and then you have the new growth that's on there. But, we shake the dead needles out to hopefully keep as much of it possible out of the house. Then if they want, we'll bale it, which is all it does is net it, make it in a smaller package so it's easier getting the house and into the tree stand.
Yeah. So what is the trailer down there at the end of your?
Well, that trailer basically I use for everything, whether it be cutting brush and hauling away. Most people recognize this as the trailer I use to help haul trees back to the buildings.